Hello, and welcome to Astral Doorway, a place to journey within yourself and awaken into the very edge of time and space that lie in the depths of consciousness. How do we go to those depths of consciousness? Isn't everything we see already part of consciousness? The real question is, how do I discern what I'm perceiving is consciousness or from my own self creation? Well, one needs a finely tuned sort of awareness to see what is really going on inside our skulls, right? The way to start actually getting a grip and familiarity with this type of critical awareness is to rise above time, to go beyond time. What do we mean by that, and how do we do it? One cannot possibly know what time truly is until they're fully aware of it and how it impacts their own personal life. You can understand it theoretically, sure, but even that theory exists as a memory in the past when you read about it, as just a form of stored knowledge. So, with any far and long journey, like going beyond time or reaching the astral plane, we don't undertake those journeys by looking far away. No. In order to go far, we have to begin with what is near. So every journey always begins with the here and now, our physical life, and our perception of it. If you're stuck in time, you cannot truly see it for what it is. And guess what? If one is stuck in time and deeply lost in it and identified with it, then that person is in essence blocking themselves from intuiting the reality of the astral plane. I know that's a mouthful, but let me attempt to clarify all of this and what I mean. Just before I do, I want to give a quick shout out to 7 new Patreons: Ryan, Sage, Maximilian, Rochelle, Matt, JK, and Michael. Thank you all for joining and supporting this channel. I deeply appreciate it. And also thank you to John, Borman, and Karen for increasing their pledges. It really means a lot. If you'd like to join and support Astral Doorway, there's a link in the description below. Okay, so like I said, we get stuck in time. I am in no way saying time is bad. No, time is what is, right? How can you deny what is? But what I am saying is that instead of gracefully living in acceptance of what is, we instead often put our hands out and grab time and rub it in our eyes and taint our vision and our perception. We no longer live in our normal current time here and now in the present moment, but we live in those moments in time where we attached ourselves to certain experiences of the past. And we also do the same with worrying or trying to imagine what the future will be. We're so obsessed with time and we don't even realize it. So, let's get a little more scientific to understand this even more. The astral plane is the 5th dimension, and time is the 4th dimension. Everyone familiar with science and physics knows that time is the 4th dimension. Okay? The first dimension is length. The second dimension gives width to that length, okay? And the third dimension gives height to that width and length. which in turn creates space to move around and explore. You see, this is where we are materially, right? Exploring three-dimensional space. So now we have space, the third dimension. Now there's the deeper aspect, the fourth dimension, which gives time to this space in order to experience the third dimension in an understandable and linear way. So, if you were to imagine yourself in the fourth dimension, you would see multiple versions of yourself starting from when you were a baby to where you are now listening to this. The thing is, because we're stuck at a level of consciousness of the third and fourth dimension, we only think we're one version of ourselves. If you were truly risen above the fourth dimension, you would clearly see your life and comprehend every aspect of your life multidimensionally as different versions of yourself. But we don't see that. Why? Because we're stuck in time and identified with it. We tell ourselves something that happened in the past conditions who I am today. I am my past. Of course, that's not correct, right? We are who we are right now. Now, I hope you can see where we're going with the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension is above time and space. Okay? The fifth dimension allows time and space to exist and be experienced. But not only one timeline of your life, but infinite timelines and possibilities of realities. That is what the fifth dimension holds. That is what the astral plane holds, or a core aspect of the astral plane. And think about that word timeline, right? Timeline. The fourth dimension is multidimensional. It has multiple timelines, which are clearly accessible from the perspective of the fifth dimension. So, for example, from right now, where you are in this point in your life, where will you go? What will you experience? Do you think you'll know what you'll experience? Maybe you think you have no choice about what your future holds because you believe life is a certain way for you. Therefore, you will experience life according to the way you believe it will, because you're so stuck in the dimension of time that you can't see there's other possibilities and realities and timelines for you to connect to, because you're so attached to your current timeline and the way that you think it is and the way that you think it conditions you. If you were risen above this, above time, and clearly saw your experience of time and space as it is, rather than what you think it is, then you would be connecting to the fifth dimension that is within yourself and have much better clarity in order to see your own possibilities and your own potential. So, the astral plane, the fifth dimension, is like its own special space or bubble that surrounds all of time and space. The fifth dimension is like the womb of a mother, and the mother allows all kinds of time and space to occur. And she doesn't care what happens because, like a true mother, she just wants you to be happy and experience what's best for you. You have that freedom. So if you choose to experience a space where you are struggling and having an extremely difficult time, then she will let you do that. That's what love is, right? This is just one way you can start to understand the archetype of the Divine Mother. The expression of the ancient Egyptian Nut would be a great example here. Take a look at this picture of her and how she covers the world with her body. And we can look to that feminine aspect to disconnect ourselves with unwanted realities. And we can, in a way, ask that aspect to help us to go beyond all of this and understand deeper realities, such as the astral plane. So, this is the natural power the fifth dimension has over time. The thing is, we're so unconscious that we make unconscious decisions fifth dimensionally and experience things we don't necessarily want to. However, if we weren't so unconscious and we actualized the reality of the fifth dimension practically, then we would have the freedom to choose what and how we begin to experience our given time and space. Take a look at this infographic I made this week. You might not be able to read it if you're on a small screen. If not, I'll leave a link below in the description so you can download it, so you can zoom in and see. Now, in the center is your awareness, untainted, pure, permanent, without ego, without judgments. It is in essence your soul, that which journeys beyond the body and stays with you after death. Now, I want you to imagine this ball as an enormous, powerful sun with heat, fire, life, and potential. Because this is what our soul truly feels like, right? Forget petty and weak theories about what you think the soul is. Imagine it as this beaming orb of pure light and love. Now, imagine it being born into this third dimension in the form of a human being. And thus, it begins to travel through the fourth dimension of time throughout its life. And it does so quite happily at first, enjoying its experience as it grows older. But then, oh no, what's this? The orb isn't traveling so smoothly anymore. There's turbulence. The orb is resisting what is happening in its experience. It's struggling to continue living smoothly. It's having such a hard time with a specific experience that it gave some of its light to a thought or dream or identification about that experience that caused it pain. And the orb keeps struggling and struggling with different experiences at points in time until it turns into just a little ball of light. And around it, it now has all this discolorations, polluted light floating around it. You can barely see the pure orb of light anymore because all of its garbage, identifications, sadness, anger, desires, unhappiness, and all these things are justified by the illusion that it identifies with time and that it takes time personally. And so, all the offshoots, all the branches you see on the image are just a few generalized examples of things we get lost in due to the experiences of time. Am I saying these things are inherently bad? No. I'm saying that we get lost and obsessed and identified with them. We think we are them. We are so lost in them that we cannot even see them. We're not even aware of them. We're not observing them. We're not seeing them for what they are, as just simply thought form structures within the space of our consciousness that are blocking our own clarity on our spiritual path, on our natural way of seeing. And all these things are accumulated from our past. You are not your past. Why should what you have experienced in your past affect you now? Here and now you have the opportunity to do whatever you want in the future. Should that be conditioned by the past? No, of course not. That's ridiculous. But it's true for most of us, because throughout the time of our lives, we fight cry, worry, and stress over what has already happened. And what has already happened has happened. It does not exist anymore in your current space time experience. So, where do all of our problems exist? It exists in your own mind in the form of dreams, worries, fears, and other nonsensical thought form structures in the trap of our imagination. I'm not saying imagination is bad. I'm just saying that it controls us and traps us in this way because we have no control over it. So let go of all that. Just do it. You don't need to ask how. You don't need to be confused about it. You just let it go. They have no purpose or relevance to your current life situation here and now. The only purpose they hold for you is to wake up out of them and realize that you've been carrying them around as delusion. And what happens when you accumulate so many thoughts, emotions, and opinions about your past and future? You fill your inner space with self created dreams. And how can new experiences arise if you are not empty? If you are always telling the same story over and over to yourself, to other people, Googling the same problems? You have to be empty from moment to moment in order to touch the eternal realm within yourself, to go beyond time. So we don't just experience our one personal timeline. No, imagine the entire timeline of your life now. Do you think it's just one timeline? No. In our unconscious and defective mind, we make up all sorts of realities about the one timeline we experienced. We taint it. And we do this because we're multidimensional in nature, but we don't use this multidimensionality in a positive way. We use it in a negative, fragmented way and create endless dreams and delusions about our life experiences. And we don't even think that these are negative. We love them. We personalize them. We hold on to them. We use them for arguments, and we use them to engage in arguments with others. And all this, of course, we dream about at night too, stuck in these delusions of thoughts and attachments. Think about a time in your life that was very difficult. Now, the more anxiety you have about that experience, you may have 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 different types of thoughts about that experience. For example, you might say, oh, I liked that experience. But another part of you might say, oh, actually, I hated that experience. Or an angry part of you might say, oh, I wish I could go to that experience and fight with that person who was there saying things about me. Or a shyer aspect of you might say, oh, I really wish I could be a bit more confident. Or a sadder aspect of you might say, oh, I really feel sorry for that person. This was such a terrible experience. There's all sorts of nonsense in our mind that we get hypnotized into these past experiences and we replay them as a sort of ongoing cinema within our minds. And there is an endless duality here in our nature and how we treat our experiences. Why do we have the need to interpret and opinionate everything? Leaving things as they are is far more intelligent and less ignorant than having the compulsive need to make sense of things. So, what's one of the biggest things to take from this? Being fully here, now, fully occupied, fully present, fully attending to our mind and our awareness. It doesn't even take effort. Why should it take effort to just see what's going on around you? It can feel like it takes effort if you don't like what you see. But is that really seeing? Is that really looking within? No, because if you don't like what you're seeing, you're simply adding to these dreams and opinions about what's happening in your experience. Get to a point where there is no more observer and no more observed. Get to a point where you only see things as what is, without judgment, without labeling, right? When you go into nature, don't see a bush, a tree, an insect. Don't see ideas in your mind, just see. And you can do this with seeing the way you think and what you think and why you think the way you do. This is the critical dimension of insight that we as a species need to venture into. As I said in a previous episode, there are no teachers in the world who can teach you. You, yourself, and your relationship with others in the world is the only teacher, the only guru who can aid you. And this silent teacher is the only way for you to make any sort of progression into that which is far, that which is beyond what we call normal and ordinary. So no more endless theories and discussions, interchange of ideas, judgments, no more thinking about oneself, right? Because remember, there is a huge difference between thinking about oneself and observing oneself. Change comes from within, with objective awareness, objective observation, with deep self-inquiry in the silence of the mind. You have to realize that there is an infinitely more deeper intelligence to profound inner silence than the use of personalized intellectualizations, analyzations, and judgments. Silence is far more intelligent and wiser. Okay, well, that's all for today. Wishing you clarity and clear inner light in this time of the zodiac sign Leo, which is to do with the energies of the sun and our hearts, and is a great time to practice meditation. It's also the week of my birthday, so sorry if I don't get back to your many questions this week. I'll be out here in South Korea celebrating. Nobody should ever listen to the pessimistic people who say they don't care about their birthdays. They don't care because they don't care about life, right? A birthday is a time to review your life, where you've been, where you're going, and to celebrate another year alive in the precious gift that is life. Also, there is so much more to be said about the dimensions from the first all the way up to the 9th or 11th dimensions of nature, and I'm planning to make a much more in-depth series about each one. So look out for that in the future. Be sure to be subscribed, share this video with like minds, and I'll see you in that which is beyond time, the eternal realm of the present moment, where all higher dimensions exist, not just the astral.